When God says he knows the plans that he has for you, sis, bro, he's not lying. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, my name is Ashton and I make faith videos here on YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of a life update and telling you guys about how God blessed me with a new apartment. So if you're interested in seeing that, then just keep on watching. Alright guys, so it has been, I'm pretty sure, like a month since I have posted here on YouTube, and that's because things have just been crazy around here. Things have been changing. Obviously, you guys can see that I am in a new space, and so that's really what I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about today. This apartment thing has been a struggle between me and God for years. Like, me and God have been going back and forth about this apartment thing since 2019. We're in 2021, okay? So let me give you guys the backstory. 2019, I graduate from college. I get a job in my degree field, but I'm still in Lansing, which is where my college was at. I did not want to live in Lansing, and I knew that I wasn't going to stay there for a long time. God actually told me that I would be moving back to Kalamazoo, which is my hometown, because my work here was not done. My work in Kalamazoo was not done, and so he actually told me not to get an apartment in Lansing, but I was working in Lansing, and Lansing is like an hour away from my hometown, and I was like, there's no way that I can drive to work and back home an hour each way every single day. But I knew that God was telling me not to get an apartment, so I'm like, bro, that doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense for me to work in Lansing, but to live in Kalamazoo and to drive back and forth every single day. So what did I do? I went and got an apartment, right? So I got my apartment in June of 2019. By September of 2019, or maybe even October, God had called me out of the job, right? And so now I'm stuck at an apartment in a city that I don't want to live in, with a bill that I shouldn't have even had because God told me not to get that apartment in Lansing. So for the next few months, I'm literally like, God, I'm struggling, I'm crying, I'm frustrated, because I'm like, God, you called me out of this job. What are we doing, right? My parents are looking at me like I'm crazy. They're like, you left your job, you didn't have no money saved up. How are you paying your bills? So my mom, God bless my mom, she ended up having to save me, and so she paid for me to break my lease, and I ended up moving back home in December of 2019. And when I say that I was so frustrated, I was depressed, because I just felt like I had failed, right? I'm like, how do I go through 4 years of college pretty much supporting myself? I was working, and I was just really independent, to graduating from college. This is the moment where I'm supposed to be living on my own, getting a big girl job, paying all my bills, and somehow I'm back at home living upstairs in my childhood bedroom with no job. I'm like, God, what are we doing? This can't be the life that you had for me. This can't be the prosperous life that you have for me. And so me and God, we had a lot of arguments. I'm not gonna lie, God and I had a lot of arguments. Me just saying, like, God, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense what you're doing. Until I think March of 2020, I ended up interviewing for a job with a organization called Youth for Christ, and I ended up getting that position. And so that was when I started to kind of see that God was working things out for my good. And so now I'm working in this job, I'm doing youth ministry, right? And so I knew that God was calling me to work into ministry, but I didn't know what it was until I was obedient and moved back home, right? And moved back to Kalamazoo like he told me to. So now I'm working in youth ministry, I have a job, and I'm like, okay, God, I'm ready to move out of my mom's house. Not that there was anything wrong with living at home, it just, for me, I was feeling, I don't know, I'm just very independent, want to be responsible, take care of myself, not want to depend on anybody type of person. And so the fact that I was staying at home and I had this degree, it didn't sit right with me in my spirit, right? But it was where God had me in the moment. But I just kept praying, God, okay, I'm ready to move, I'm ready to move. And so I was looking at apartments, and eventually, I think it was like October of 2020, I'm like, okay, God, I'm about to look at apartments and I'm going to move out by the end of this year. And he was like, no, you're gonna wait until February of 2021. And I'm like, bruh, February of 2021? God, I'm trying to get out of my mama's house and now, right? And he's like, no, wait. And I'm like, God, this doesn't, it doesn't make sense. I have the money to move. Why do I have to wait? And he just said, wait. And so I knew better than to move ahead of him. I knew better than to be disobedient, because I knew what happened last time when I stayed in Lansing and got that apartment, even though he told me not to. So I said, all right, God, you know better than me. You know the plans that you have for me. So I'm gonna wait. And so I'm working and I'm driving around in the neighborhood that I work in, and I see this building going up, and on it says now leasing. And so they were building these new apartments in the neighborhood that I work in. And one of the things that they encourage us to do at our job, if you work like with the ministries that I work with, is to live in the same neighborhood that you work in, so that you can be able to better relate to the teens that we work with, so that you can see the struggles that they go through, so that you can see what resources and things are available in the community. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I am supposed to live there. And as soon as I drove past it, I just knew that this is what God had for me, and this is what he was making me wait for. And so I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to apply for these apartments. So I'm calling them, I'm like leaving emails, and nobody's responding. And I'm just like, bruh. So this is like November, December of 2020. And I'm like, God, if I'm supposed to be living in this apartment, why is nobody responding? Like, why is this not working the way that it's supposed to be working? And he's like, just wait. You're going to move into that apartment February of 2021. I'm like, okay, God. So January comes, I still haven't heard anything back from the property. And so I'm like, bruh, I'm not getting into the apartment. God said February, it is January. I'm not getting into this apartment. And so at this point, I'm getting kind of frustrated, and I'm just like, okay, God, once again, this is not making sense. And he's just like, wait, just wait. So we get like midway through January, and I'm talking to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I don't know what to do. Like, God told me that this is where I'm supposed to be staying at. Nobody's responding to me. Can you try to see if you can reach out? So my mom calls the same number that I have been calling for the past 2 months, and the lady answers on like the first ring. Mind you, it's like 8 o'clock at night, 7:30. I'm like, what? How is this lady answering my mom at 7:30 on a Wednesday night? And I've been calling and worked 8 to 5 between regular office hours for the past 2 months. So she answers, she's like, yes, come fill out an application next week. And so I go, I fill out the application, I talk to her, I tell her about like my job and what I do in this neighborhood, and she's like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And so me and her, the property manager, actually start to develop a pretty good relationship. And so we're talking, and she's like, we're doing tours next week. If you want, you can be the first one to tour the building. And I'm like, yes, like, of course I want to be the first one to tour the building. So we end up touring the building, and y'all, the apartment is so beautiful. I can insert some pictures of what it looks like when we toured. But yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to live here. I have to live here. So she ends up running the application, and I am part-time in school getting my MBA, and so that was one of the things that was noted on the application, and it was just a struggle to prove that I was part-time. So like things kept coming back and they kept needing more documentation, and so I was like, okay God, I'm trusting you that this is going to work out. And so I'm just keep giving them the things that they're asking for, and then I get approved, right? And so I'm like, yes, I'm getting ready to move into this apartment. Now mind you, the apartments were done, but on the lower level there's going to be like a 24-hour daycare. There's going to be like some offices and stuff, so none of that is complete yet, but the apartments are done. And so she's like, you can move in the second week of February on that Monday. So I'm like, okay, bet. So Monday comes around, no, the Sunday before comes around, and I text her. I'm like, hey, can I move in, or what time can I move in on Monday? And she doesn't respond, right? So on Monday morning, I text her again. I'm like, hey, I was just wondering what time can I move in? Because at this point, I had booked my movers to come and help me move in on Wednesday, right? So I had paid the deposit, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna move in. On Monday, I'm gonna get my keys, and on Wednesday, the movers are gonna come and move in. Monday comes around and she's like, hey, there's some technical stuff going on, and until that's finished, you're not going to be able to move in. And I'm like, all right, bet, I'm okay with that, because I paid the movers to come on Wednesday. Tuesday comes around and she's like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm still not going to be able to get you your keys. You're not going to be able to sign your lease until everything is done. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to move my movers. So I rescheduled my movers for Friday, and they're like, okay, since you rescheduled, we're gonna need another deposit. So I'm like, all right. So I moved my movers to Friday. So Wednesday comes and goes, I don't hear anything. Thursday comes and goes, I don't hear anything. So Friday morning, at this point, I'm just like super over it. I am like, God, this is not making sense. You said that I was going to be moving into this apartment. Why is nothing working? Why am I not moving in? What is going on? And it just didn't make sense. I just felt like because God said it, it should have been seamless, right? But that's not always the case. And so Friday morning, I was at work, and I literally was about to cry at work. And so I ended up praying, and God said, a delay does not change the favor or my hand that is on your life. A delay does not change the favor or my hand that is on your life. And I said, okay, God. So I had my movers booked for 3 o'clock on Friday. That morning, I hadn't heard anything from the property manager, so I canceled my movers. So remember, I paid a deposit to have them move on Wednesday. I had to reschedule them for Friday, so I had to pay another deposit, and now I can't have them move me in on Friday, so I have to cancel. So I'm out basically like $300, and they haven't done anything, right? So I'm like, all right, God, you are gonna make this happen. And so I give it to him, right? So at like 12 o'clock, I get a text from my property manager saying that I can get my keys that day. Now I was excited, but I was also frustrated because I had just canceled my movers. I was out $300, and I was going to have to schedule movers again, so I was going to have to pay again. So I'm like, bruh, I'm happy that I can get my keys, but I'm frustrated that I've wasted money and I haven't even moved into my apartment yet, right? So I come to the apartment to sign my lease, to pay my deposit, and I told her that I had scheduled movers, but I had to cancel them. And she says, how much did you have to pay? And I tell her, and she says, okay, we'll take that off your rent. Huh? Come again and say what? You'll do what? She said, yeah, don't worry about it, we'll cover it. Y'all, when I say God is not playing, God does not play about me. And I feel like that's how we all need to feel as children of God. God does not play about me. If God said that something is going to happen, it's going to happen in the way that he said that it's supposed to happen, right? So I signed my lease, I get my keys. I ended up being the first person to move into these brand new apartments. And it's just been amazing ever since. This morning, actually, our local news station came and did a segment on the apartment, and I actually got to be a part of that interview. And so, yeah, it's just been crazy, y'all. But I have finally moved into my new apartment, so we are going to be back to our scheduled program with 2 videos a week starting next week on Monday. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure that you subscribe, and also make sure that you turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss any new videos from me. My apartment's not completely done, so I'm not going to do like an apartment tour right now. Maybe I will in the upcoming weeks. But yeah, so I just wanted to share with you guys about this journey and how God has blessed me with this apartment. And yeah, I just want to encourage you that if there's something that you have been praying for and that God has told you to wait on, know that it is coming. Know that his plans are better than our plans. His thoughts are better than our thoughts. His ways are better than his ways. And also remember that it's blessings in obedience, right? There are blessings in your obedience. Do not move ahead of God. Do not move behind God. Move when he says move. Wait when he says wait. And just trust him, right? Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding, right? None of this made sense to me. None of the waiting, none of the me not supposed to be getting an apartment 2 years ago. None of this stuff made sense to me, but now I can look back and I can see Jeremiah 29:11. I can see Romans 8:28, that everything is working together for our good. So please, 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 if there was anything that I wanted to leave you guys with from this story, it is that God knows best. So follow his direction, follow his lead, and he will never, ever, ever stray you away. So that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.